Hello and welcome back to ERU, where we round up the biggest results and talking points from across European football. Joining me today, it's Henry Hill. Henry, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. I think the same as you. Bit of a long weekend, and I think we both about as prepared for ERU as you could possibly be after just blobbing out and watching an unbelievable amount of European football this weekend. It is back, and it's so good. It's so good. And actually, I just want to address this early before anyone gets annoyed at me. I did watch the Real Madrid game against the Invade, which was crazy. Real Madrid can't seem to hold on to a lead. Some unreal goals, by the way, in that game across the board, including from Vinicius, his second goal.
Oh.
I've never quite seen it. If Ronaldinho did that kind of flick, I don't know if you've seen it, Dougie, but it's like a death flick,
haven't yet.
Which perfectly picks out the other corner. I think it's just so incredible. I couldn't quite get my head around it, but yeah, well done to him. Unlucky to Levante, who could have really won that game. Finished the game with their sort of centre back in goal, which you love to see. After the guy who got sent off, yeah, crazy all round. And you know, we're only getting started when we talk about the crazy kind of football that we saw this weekend, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, crazy scenes all across Europe. I'm glad that Henry's eating a slice of Vinicius humble pie to kick us off. But we're also starting today's show with the story of the week. It could only really be one topic. It was going to be the fact that Chelsea are potentially going to go for Aurélien Tchouameni, but then the scenes last night, oh my goodness, between Nice and Marseille. This was suggested by @LilBebe161. Henry, what went down? It was crazy.
Oh, I haven't seen anything like this in sort of top 5 European football in quite a long time. So Sunday night's Ligue 1 clash between Marseille and Nice, the Côte d'Azur derby, it descended into absolute madness with the score at 1-0 to Nice in the 74th minute. Kasper Dolberg actually on the score sheet to make it 2-2 for the season, really looking like he's going to have a massive campaign after a pretty successful European tournament. But anyway, what happened? Dimitri Payet, who's been battered the entire game by the Nice Ultras, he's gone over to take a corner and he's been hit pretty flush with a bottle. There's other sort of missiles raining down on him. It was pretty sort of full on, as even by hostile standards, they're really going for it. Anyway, he's turned and reacted, launched a bottle back into the crowd. Go check this out on sort of social media if you can. And it's just descended into chaos with the Ultras sort of flooding onto the pitch, a complete invasion. The fans tried to attack the Marseille players, with one aiming a kick at Payet. Scuffles broke out between two sets of players and coaching staff. Nice's captain, Dante, he went to try and reason with the Ultras, but they did sort of subside a little bit, but they weren't seem to be having it at the start. You saw people like Guendouzi, Luan Perez were sort of heading over into the action to try and sort of distill the drama. But I mean, there was so much going on. We even saw a member of Marseille's coaching staff sort of run in there and sort of take someone out pretty flush as well.
It was a good hit.
Yeah, it was pretty. I mean, I fear for
I'm
his...
not condoning it, but...
Yeah. The long-term repercussions for him is not looking good at all.
Yeah.
It's not anything that you like to see or expect to see. Unsurprisingly, like they tried to leave the field. The game was sort of halted. Then you saw another scuffle breaking out by the dressing with Jorge Sampaoli sort of getting involved. He looked absolutely furious. He needed to be restrained. Yeah, the Marseille coach. After a long delay, it was announced that the game was going to go back on. The Nice players reappeared. Unsurprisingly, the Marseille players did not. They decided to call it a night after some frankly sort of outrageous scenes. I'm pretty stunned by it all. But I mean, Dougie, what's been the repercussions so far? What's the next step in this?
Well, we're waiting to hear what goes on in terms of punishment against Nice, probably, and maybe Marseille fans as well will face some repercussions as well, because this isn't the first incident in the last month that Marseille have been involved in as well. Obviously, in this instance, it was the Nice Ultras that came onto the pitch, and the Marseille president, Pablo Longoria, was pretty clear with who was to blame for the incident afterwards, saying, our players were attacked, we decided for the safety of our players not to resume the match because the safety of our players was not guaranteed. Nice president Jean-Pierre Rivere, or Rivera maybe, also appealed for calm over the stadium tannoy during the sort of scuffles, as it were. Felt some of the blame was with Marseille, saying, we can't deny that water bottles were thrown because we could all see it. What ignited the clashes was the reaction of the Marseille players who retaliated, which I think is a bit of a weird standpoint to take here. If I'd been, Payet shouldn't have thrown the bottle back into the crowd. But if someone had been throwing bottles at me for 74 minutes and I threw one back in the crowd at the Ultras who were throwing it back at me, like, if you can't take it, don't throw it. And then don't run onto the pitch and start fighting with your own players, opposing players, coaching staff. They destroyed a hoarding as well, one of those electronic hoardings, advertising hoardings, which is going to cost the club a lot of money. They'll probably be banned. Maybe like the fans will be banned. They'll probably face a massive fine as well. So it really wasn't pretty at all. And he then said, the Nice president afterwards, he continued, afterwards it is deplorable that the Marseille security staff intervened on the ground and hit our players. So I don't really like this guy's attitude so far. He's just sort of shifting blame, or trying to, onto Marseille. But, as I said earlier, this does just come 2 weeks after Marseille's 3-2 victory away at Montpellier was halted, after Montpellier fans, pelted the pitch with bottles with players from both teams hit. So it feels like Marseille might be the slight common denominator. We obviously saw their fans storm the training ground at the end of January, before Andre Villas-Boas resigned, etc. They're obviously very known as being very passionate, very heated, etc. And maybe it just brings out the worst in other people's opposing fans as well. Although, it doesn't, a tooth for a tooth doesn't make it better in this whole situation. And there is a bit of history in this clash as well. 2 years ago, the match between Nice and Marseille was suspended after a homophobic banner was displayed by Nice fans. So their ultras, like Marseille's, have a sort of controversial place in French football. And they'll, 100% be a punishment. The game was abandoned, but had never really seen scenes like it. And some players reacted by running off the pitch, quite rightly. Some players wanted to go confront the fans. I thought credit to Dante as well, who went over into a pretty hostile, angry situation to go reason with them. That was a really brave thing to do, to be honest. And he looks like he's got a great relationship with the fans as well. But it was just a really shameful night in French football, to be honest. And as Henry said at the top, I hadn't seen anything like it for quite a while. So there's not really much more to add right now in terms of, our opinion on it. We're obviously condoning it. We're putting most of the blame on the Nice ultras, but it'll be intriguing to see what the fallout of this is. And I don't really like the Nice president's words on it so far. So guys, get your thoughts about it in the comments down below. How would you punish the Nice fans? What would you like to be seen done about the game? Would it be replayed at a later date, or do you just have to leave it as abandoned? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, and let's move on to a happier note, our results of the week.
For our results of the week, this time we're in Italy, where we were looking at defending champions Inter Milan, seeing how they're kicking off in their new era under Inzaghi. Dougie, how did they get on?
Well, it went pretty well. Obviously, Juve then drew last night as well, so it looks even better now. But they got off to the perfect start as Inter Milan destroyed Genoa on the opening day of Serie A, beating them 4-0 with goals from Skriniar, Calhanoglu, Vidal and Dzeko. And it could have been even worse or even more dominant for Inter. Perisic and Calhanoglu both had goals ruled out as well. They had 60% possession, they had 16 shots with 8 on target to Genoa's 10 and 4. XG had it at 2.2 to 1, which shows the quality of Inter's finishing as well. And the Nerazzurri are on a fantastic run at home. They haven't lost in the league at the San Siro since the 17th of October 2020, which was 2-1 versus Milan, and that was 18 games ago, so they're on a great run. And this performance, after a challenging summer that saw their manager and their two best players leave, obviously, this was the perfect start, and they've now played 8 games under Inzaghi, including pre-season friendlies, of course, and scored 45 goals, which averages out at 5.6 per game. It did help that they were playing a team beginning with S, I can't remember the name, on their first day of pre-season. I think they won 16-0. So that has slightly skewed it. But still, it's looking pretty good for Simone Inzaghi so far. And it does obviously help that he favours a similar system to Conte, although with Lautaro Martinez still not fully fit after his excerpts at the Copa America. It was Stefano Sensi, who was playing behind Dzeko until he was subbed for Vidal. Which bodes well for the Italian after a challenging 2021 campaign. Sensi, that is. He missed 10 games with injury and only made just 4 league starts. After being looking so promising in 2019-20, he'll be looking to get back to his best. Stefano Sensi, a great player to watch as well. The only concern for Inter was the fact that Genoa striker Yaya Calon, signed from 4th tier Savona this summer, missed 2 fairly straightforward chances, but their defence, which of De Vrij, Bastoni, Skriniar, it's surely the best in Serie A, at least on paper, and it's only going to get better as they, improve with a bit more time under Inzaghi. So well done to them. But Henry, quickly, Genoa, not so good.
Yeah, pretty tough day in the office for them, and also pretty awful kit as well. I've not seen the away strip quite like that. I think a lot of kit providers across Europe need to take a long, hard look at themselves.
100%.
It's been some shockers. Anyway, yeah, they had a tough time. But I have to say, Inter Milan were just completely dominant in this game. They did have Sirigu in goal, who was signed on a free from Torino, but he was unable really to do anything about the result. Another positive, I suppose, is Zeno van Duysen, who they brought on loan from Inter this summer. He had a pretty solid game. 3 interceptions, 6 clearances, 1 dribble, 93% passing accuracy. They did have their chances as well. Yaya Kalon, signed from 4th tier Savona this summer. He does look like a bit of a find, except for his finishing. If his finishing could just improve, then I think Genoa will have unearthed a bit of a gem there. So that's something to be positive about going forward, particularly with Goran Pandev, who I thought had actually retired from club football too, but he's still there, 38 years old up front, but he had a bit of a miserable game. 1 shot, 1 key pass. But then again, he is up against Bastoni, De Vrij and Skriniar. In my opinion, probably as good a back 3 as any you will see in European club football. So unbelievably solid from the back. I love their strength and depth at the fullbacks. Di Marco and Perisic on one side, then now got Damian and Dumfries on the other. So they're really solid and set up to go there. And then up top, though, that's where it was really kicking off. As you mentioned there, some ridiculous goal stats for Inter Milan over the summer. Edin Dzeko, superb on his debut. 1 tackle, 1 aerial duel, 2 dribbles, 1 key pass, 4 shots, 1 goal. He could have scored more than the header he got, fully deserved at the end. His link up with Calhanoglu was exceptional on his 200th Serie A appearance, but Calhanoglu probably stole the show. Looked like him and Dzeko have been playing together forever, really. I mean, Calhanoglu gets a lot of stick, and you love him or hate him, whatever. Not many AC Milan fans, sad to see him go, but he was awesome in this game. He really was, playing in midfield alongside Brozovic and Barella. What an amazing midfield that is. 1 tackle, 1 interception, 5 key passes, 1 shot and an assist. And if his goal from distance is superb, it's kind of everything we expect from him, but more. And then actually the goal that was disallowed, where he's like teed it up and volleyed it in the top corner, that was super sweet as well. Go check that out if you haven't seen that. It's a real shame that was called off. But yeah, Inter Milan, I know, Dougie, you and I don't have as many reservations over the sort of Inter Milan project going forward, and I think that's been fully justified in this game here. I'm not going to read too much into a 4-0 win over Genoa, who I think are going to just struggle throughout the season, as they normally do. But at the same time, yeah, what a great time for them. And next up for Inter is they're away at Hellas Verona, who lost 3-2 to Sassuolo in an entertaining game at the weekend. So yeah, they've got a definite chance to push on there. But yeah, Dougie, just a quick line on Inter. Is this everything and more that you're expected of their first game under Inzaghi?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the side is fairly settled, to be fair. They've still got that really dynamic midfield, as you mentioned there. It's great to see Stefano Sensi come back into the fold as well. Dzeko's obviously not going to take any time to adapt, probably. You know, he's played a very similar system at Roma last year. And, you know, him and Denzel Dumfries should hit the ground running. And they've made a lot of money this window. I think, you know, I haven't watched the highlights of the Juve game just yet, but it sounds like they were a little bit poorish against Udinese, I believe. And, you know, Ronaldo has said that he wants to leave, supposedly. Although Max Allegri and Nedved have said that he's not going anywhere. So if they can take advantage of some sort of uncertainty in Turin this year, and I think Inter might have a chance of backing up their title. At least on this showing, it's certainly got a chance.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Well, get in the comments below whether or not you think Inter Milan actually could go all the way and get a title this season, as we move on to our Star of the Week.
Our Star of the Week, we are staying in Italy, despite what sounds like a magnificent display from Vinicius Jr. against Levante. You know, they ended up drawing with Levante, which has got to be seen as 2 points drop. So instead, we want to give credit to Tammy Abraham at the suggestion of @living_daddy. What went down with the new man?
Unreal debut for the €40 million signing, Tammy Abraham. He played a crucial role in Jose Mourinho's first game in charge at Roma, didn't he? A 3-1 win over Fiorentina in the Stadio Olimpico. We previewed this in Continental Club. If you haven't gone and checked that out already, a great episode with Jack Collins. Anyway, it started pretty good for Abraham after he got the Fiorentina Dragowski sent off in the 17th minute for a wild lunge after being played through on goal. Also, then Zaniolo got sent off in the second half as well to even up the numbers. But he laid on 2 sort of excellent assists, flicking it through for Mkhitaryan, then also crossing at the end for Veretout to find the net. And this is after he'd hit the crossbar himself. He came so close to sort of getting a goal of his own. Then he was substituted in the 70th minute. 1 tackle, 1 dribble, 2 key passes, shot completed. But he brought so much energy to the game. And actually, Roma really needed it because they were struggling in the first half. Despite Fiorentina having 10 men, they were sort of outshot for the majority of it. And then even in the second half, Fiorentina were the ones sort of on the ascendancy for the most. So that was like the struggles from the Roma side. Abraham, amazing. But I mean, what did you make of the game, Dougie?
Oh, I thought Tammy was absolutely superb, to be fair. Full of running power. Just loving that space behind the Fiorentina backline as well. It's great to see Milenkovic get on the score sheet as well after a lot of sort of speculation around his future with West Ham and Spurs continually linked within this summer. Vlahovic also made an appearance as well. But it's difficult to judge Jose's side too much given the fact they played against 10 men for so long in this game. And it was really frustrating for Zaniolo to get sent off as well. For the second challenge in particular was quite stupid. And despite conceding 11 shots with 8 on target to their own 11 and 6, they definitely created the higher quality chances throughout this game. XG had it at 2.8 to 0.8 in the Giallorossi's favour. And he'll be pleased with the performances of their other signings too. Shomorodov as well came off the bench to set up a goal for Veretout after Tammy went off with cramp. And Rui Patricio made 7 saves in goal. So, you know, Jose's return to Serie A with Roma, their push for Champions League football, it went pretty well on opening night, but we'll probably wait to reserve too much judgment until 10 games into the season when they played a lot more opponents with the full 11 men on the pitch. So we'll see what happens this year with Jose and Roma. It's certainly going to be box office either way. But guys, that is all we've got time for on ERU for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Let us know what you guys thought about the Nice-Marseille incident, Inter's thrashing of Genoa. Who else could have featured in Star of the Week as well? There was loads of great performances throughout Europe this weekend. Henry, if they've enjoyed this, what should they go and put their peepers to next?
Well, we released a top 10 yesterday, I believe. It was 10 craziest contract demands. A real fun video there. Some like bizarre and wonderful stories about sort of Keisuke Honda wanting an armoured car and Southampton player Schwartz having to be banned from going to space when he signed back in 1999, as you are. So yeah, go check out that video if you haven't already.
Perfect. Thanks very much for watching, guys. We'll catch you next time. Bye.